Hey everyone. You know what I want to talk about right now? I'm going to be doing a list today about my all-time favorite movies from the iconic, still iconic in my opinion, Pixar. And I'm doing this mainly because I did a list talking about my favorite Pixar movies about a few years ago. That list hasn't changed entirely. It's changed a little bit, but a lot of the entries and what I adored about them at the time are the same about how I adored it now. So why am I doing this list again? Well, there is one problem with that top 10 list, just one small issue about that list that I kind of want to fix. There was no audio. I, I don't know what to tell you, man. I literally was so lazy to actually realize that I uploaded the video of the top 10 portion without anyone being able to actually hear what I have to say. And yet, it still got a decent number of views. I mean, I saw one person liked it. So, on the one hand, I assumed maybe people like it that I didn't talk during it, as y'all just skip through the list anyway. But then I realized, man, I had so much fun stuff to say in that list, and I could have easily have just found the clip of it and try to get the audio back and re-upload it. But no, I'm like, well, it's already uploaded, it's done, deed is done. I was so lazy to actually fix that. So today I'm going to go ahead and share with y'all again my list of my favorite Pixar movies. This time there are a little bit of differences, like the ranking of the list and where everything is a slightly different. Plus, there's been a new slate of movies coming out, and okay, spoiler alert: this list isn't updated because of the new ones coming out. I'm just gonna put it out there, just a spoiler. None of the newer Pixar movies that have come out since I did the last list are gonna be on this one. Pixar has had its peak during the 2000s, more so. They've had their peak a lot of times. People like to argue that they suck now because they don't produce great movies like they used to. But to me, it's more just the fact that people reach their peak and then they kind of takes a while until they can get close to that. And with Pixar, they've had a great run for the time. Now they're still producing good quality, just I guess not the similar kind of great quality that we were used to then. So I guess what we can say now is maybe hopefully that there will become a time where Pixar will finally be able to produce a good slate of great masterpieces of film. As of now, people will say that DreamWorks is better. I hope people aren't just saying that because of what Pixar puts now. Because I don't know. Truth is, Pixar has, they're not doing amazing, but they are still producing great movies. Some movies are better than others, and they may have had a better slate of movies back then. But we all reach our peaks at that time. We all reach a peak, then we kind of just fall back from it. So we can all just hope that Pixar will make something again that stands to be just as amazing as some of their most acclaimed past movies. Point is, I still adore Pixar. I'm not going to hate on them just because of that, like everyone else is. So here's my top 10 list of my personal favorite Pixar movies for the current moment. And this time you'll actually get to hear me talk during the list. Oh, I know. You probably were happy I forgot that back then, but I really feel like I could have done better. So yeah, I think this is a better type of top 10 list. So anyone watching this list, just disregard the last one I did. There's no point of watching it. You're not even gonna be able to hear anything. I just had no audio and didn't care. I'll make sure there's audio this time. If there's not, I'll just delete it and never do this list again.
So here is Up. This movie is usually cited by many as one of the best films Pixar has ever made. It's usually considered a acclaimed classic. And honestly, I can understand why, but at the same time, I have my faults. It is on this list, so you know that I do think it's a fantastic movie. The animation's, of course, stunning. It's like some of the greatest, most beautiful animation I've ever seen in a Pixar movie. All the shots look beautifully realistic. All the nice different worlds we get to see in this movie. We follow this old man who's sad and lonely, decides to do what he's always desired to do and travel away to a distant, faraway island. Using a bunch of balloons that he was able to put in his chimney unrealistically, on an adventure that involves more than he bargained for, including a stowaway child, a dog who has a talking collar and is so likable, and a bird that just comes out of nowhere. This movie is pretty fun adventure. I think what really makes it shine is how it's obviously full of unrealistic elements, but its tone and setting is very real to the way the characters interact and sort of how things play out. I really love movies that do that, that give us these unrealistic aspects, yet have such realistic character dialogue or reactions to the point where it feels so real to see all this random unrealistic stuff happen. You wouldn't see a talking collar for a dog or of course a huge amount of balloons carrying a house. I'm sure some people have tried that, but obviously no one can do it successfully. But this movie has all that, yet it has real tone. Like the emotions are of course still there. This we feel for this old man Carl. He's like going through a terrible life. We all of course know the greatest element of this movie being the first 10 minutes, where we see him suffer the greatest romance he's ever had, the greatest romance I've ever seen on the big screen, that eventually faded away when he lost his wife, who died before him, so his journey to go to this faraway island with her has failed. And now that he's still stuck in his home, refusing to move out until he is forced out after lawsuit incident. Yeah, they actually throw that in this Pixar movie. That's where he decides, alright, I'm flying out of here. My only issue with this movie is that, yeah, it kind of does shift the tone a little too much. We have all this beautiful, sad, emotional stuff in the beginning, and then afterwards it's an adventure, and it's full of crazy comedy, quirky Pixar stuff, and a lot of confusingly ridiculous stuff by the end. Like, they throw in dogs fighting jet pilots. They do throw in a lot of silliness. I like silliness, but in a movie like this, where I like to see the unrealistic stuff be treated real like it has been doing for the rest of the movie, I feel like by the time we get to all the silly elements and comedy, I don't know, it kind of just takes away from the realism. I mean, maybe it's just, I'm not one of those people that says this movie is overrated because the opening is the only good thing about it. No, the entire movie has a great meaning towards it. I just feel like the opening kind of set the standards a little too much, and yeah. By then, every comedic moment that happens after, is a tad, just a little bit out of place in comparison, but not too much. I like that the comedy is there. That's not even really a huge issue I have with this movie. It's just a small flaw that prevents me from calling this anything better than just an amazing film. So, to me, because of that small, minor issue, number 10 is the best place to put it. It's still a really great movie. It's beautifully animated, got a great story, great realism attached with it. You know, there's just some ways you can criticize silliness, and that's all. Alright, so I know I probably am going to get a lot of hate for this one. Incredibles 2, when it first released back in 2018, everyone was loving it. Mostly because they've waited so long to see a sequel. It hasn't, after the first one that was literally 14 years ago, it took this long till we got a sequel to The Incredibles. Everyone was surprised to wait this long. But then it finally came out. We were all like, alright, oh yeah, they're back together. We got this awesome new adventure and some great stuff. And I agreed. I thought it was also pretty amazing. Present day, however, now when a lot of people are talking about this movie, they say it's shit. People are just calling this shit, apparently, now. Some even say it's just as bad as Cars 2. Okay, I haven't heard too many people say that, but I don't know. I feel like there are people out there who want to say that. Honestly, I don't get it, okay? I really don't get it. I will admit, I have grown to agree that the first one is better. Like, when I first saw this movie in theaters, and actually for a little while, I thought that this one and the first one were both equally amazing. This point forward, I will say that, the first one is better. But still, this movie's got a lot to love about it. The animation definitely stepped up, of course. I mean, this new action and excitement this movie throws in, all the cool new explosions and visuals, they're all tons of fun to watch. I also really do think the story is a great new one. It doesn't repeat entirely on the first movie. Like, people argue, oh, they're fighting the law. That's exactly what they did first movie. Not necessarily. The Incredibles kind of has always been a story about fighting the law, while also retaining about a family of superheroes. Nose problems, I'm sorry. This movie tackles that in a new light. This fight focusing on a newer lineup of people who are
trying to fight this law, and so they take on new approaches to it. New approach involves Elastigirl taking the lead this time, while Mr. Incredible does the breadwinner trope. A lot of people seem to criticize that, saying, "Oh, that's stupid, cheesy, childish crap." Nah, man, I think it makes for a well enjoyable story. The comedy is all there. It's great, pretty great comedy. I think all these characters do get a lot of great time to shine. I do like all the new characters introduced. I do like what kind of um, new twists and turns they pull with all this stuff. I think it really does feel very nice and grounded. You know, it doesn't repeat the plots, but also makes sure it connects it to it as well. Because like they're still fighting the law. You know, it's everyone has a anti superhero issue. They're trying to be like, why? Well, why do you have that? This movie kind of gives each character their own little bit of moment. You know, I don't know, makes each character have a time to kind of pull things off. I think that's what this movie does great at. It makes sure each character has their own purpose to it. Like Elastigirl now has a bigger focus to the plot. Get to see Frozone again. That's always fun. The kids are all in more shine this time. Well, for the most part, probably not. They don't fight as much like the first movie, but they are doing what they can to continue living. And I do like that the movie emphasizes that a little more. Them living life outside of just superheroes. And then, of course, there's Jack being now trying to control his powers better. That's always fun to watch. I know what I'm describing doesn't sound like much. I'm sure a lot of you are still going to be like, okay, well, it's still a crappy sequel and you're wrong. I don't know. I think Incredibles 2, maybe not as bright, but still a really great movie, okay? I think it's still a fantastic film. I still really enjoy watching it to this day. I'm sorry. Am I over loving it? You can say that, but I don't care. I still think it's a pretty awesome film. Sorry about that. Here is Coco. Coco is often seen by many as another Pixar masterpiece. According to IMDb, it is literally the second greatest Pixar movie ever made. And do I agree with that? Well, for it being number 8 on this list, I guess I can't say I agree entirely. But my opinion on this movie definitely has increased a little bit. First viewing of this, I thought it was a pretty great movie. Just like that. I wasn't wowed, I was just impressed with it. I thought, that certainly was a pretty great put together movie. Then, as I revisited it, I realized that this actually does something pretty amazing and pretty new and exciting than I could have expected. I actually wasn't interested in seeing this movie when it first released in theaters. It wasn't until I saw it on TV that I was ready for it. I guess I just didn't have much of a big fan of the plot and what it was for. I don't know. Anyway, this movie is the story about a boy named Miguel who loves playing music. Unfortunately, the family he lives in is like, no, music bad, tamari good. That sounded super racist. I apologize. Anyway, his family doesn't like the music industry. You know, he doesn't like that he wants to do it. They're trying to get him to do other things and get him off music because I guess that's something parents do not approve of at all. None of his family does. But then he eventually finds a guitar that he wants to play, which ends up transporting him into this world run by the dead. It's literally a land of the dead that he transports to, where he meets his ancestors, learns more about his origins, tries to find the right person to get back so he can enjoy the music industry, only to get tied up in a terrible scenario where he learns some terrible things about his heroes and has to decide what the right choice is for everyone. I think what really has exceeded more as I've revisited this movie more is just how excitingly unexpected the story proceeds. The idea of a boy having parents who don't want him playing music, him trying to play music, and eventually everyone realizes, okay, music's not bad. That sounds like it could go for the basic trope of us hating on the parent characters, being like, oh my god, they are being so overprotective and stupid. But no, we actually are given time to show them and why they have purpose for what they're doing. I mean, you know, we're obviously not on their side, but at the same time, we're not hating on them because they mean well. And I like this movie can emphasize that every character here does mean well. They do have their reasons. And we eventually learn the that the hero that Miguel's always admired, who was a famous singer, happens to actually be an evil man who did his music and ways of crime and is just plain disgusting. And something everybody was trying to warn him for, but he didn't learn until the hard way. And that's another thing this movie exceeds better with a twist villain. Twist villains have been going around a lot with these animated movies. Sometimes they're just stupid. But when they do work, this probably is the best way to do it because they really make sure he is a bad person. They don't try to just twist things around too much. They straight up acknowledge that he actually is evil all along. He doesn't just turn evil randomly for whatever reason, I don't know. That's kind of where a twist villain works. When someone doesn't just decide to turn to the dark side for fun, but rather has always been in the dark side and has never left too many big clues or has given us a good idea of what we're supposed to think of him in a way. I don't know. It's kind of a weird way to explain it, but the point is, this movie really does a great job with its villain. It does a great job with its characters. The animation, of course. Hold on. God. Anyway, this movie does a fantastic job with the characters, making them all enjoyable. Animation wise, it's of course stunning. It's a beauty. I wish I saw it in cinemas because it is certainly a beauty to watch. I was oppressed at first, but looking back, I feel amazed. It's an amazing story, really likable characters, really stunning film to watch. Definitely not the kind of film I expect Pixar to make, but happy they did. Alright, so Toy Story 2. I've noticed a lot more people nowadays calling this the best Toy Story movie of the bunch. You know, it's sort of I feel like it used to be a 50-50 occurrence. Some people will say it's the best sequel, others will say it's an amazing sequel. Nowadays, it seems just about every Toy Story fan out there is calling this the best of the movies. Me personally, I mean, I hate to be that guy, but I wouldn't really. I still think it's not the best of the bunch. Anyway, let's just talk about why this still is an amazing movie. This film focuses on our characters back in a new adventure. An actual new adventure this time, not a repeat, thankfully. Those are the best kind of sequels. In this film, Woody apparently gets stolen by some collector, learns that he is part of a big franchise that went defunct, learns about his history, meets other characters that were part of his franchise, and even learns that he's becoming a display in Japan. And it's like, should I do this or should I actually go home to play with my kid? Should I abandon my kid who would apparently abandon me anyway in the future? Or should I just accept the fact that I will be abandoned soon and what comes must go, I guess. That's kind of not entirely how the message is, but it is kind of where the plot goes. And Buzz, along with a couple of the other famous toys we all know and love, have to try and save Woody from this. So yeah, it's an adventure flick. It's full of cool adventure where we get to see Buzz and the gang travel more around the city. You know, go cross the street using cones, causing huge car collisions, risking lives just for the sake of getting their one friend back, or causing rampage through a toy store. That was a really fun scene. They do a lot of fun stuff to get to Woody. It's exciting and fun. And Woody's story itself works great too. He gets to have fun with these new characters and eventually learns how much of a big deal this is to them. We learn some incredibly sad backstory behind Jesse, of course. And of course is incredibly emotional, the way they show it off in this movie. And that's where Woody starts to realize, okay, I'm on your side now. Let's go get anime. Sorry. And then when Buzz goes to finally catches Woody, Woody's like, sorry, Buzz, I'm a weeb now. I'm going to stop with that. But when Woody realizes he has a friend, he goes back, then Pete is like, I'm a villain now. So yeah, we follow more adventure where they go across crazy stuff through the airports. We learn how airport security works, and people who work at airports will just say, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. But I don't work at the airport, so I can't say that. I can just have fun. This movie is pure fun, it's all. The animation has improved a lot from the first one. That I love. I love how much the animation's improved. I love how much excitement there is to the adventures. The comedy is still there a little bit. So why is it still not my favorite of the bunch? Well, this is probably going to come off horribly, but I feel like out of all the Toy Story movies, this one's the most childish. I don't mean childish in a horrible way. I don't mean that as in this movie is full of bad humor. I just mean in terms of what movies seem to tend to really give entertain more children than adults. I see a lot of that with this one. Adults will be entertained. I am entertained. I'm an adult. But in the ways of what kind of adult humor there is, aside from like one or two innuendos, of course, it just feels a little more children like, I guess. I don't know. There's a lot more silly, wholesome attitudes in this movie, and in a way, I feel like that the adventure portion just kind of does a little less to really set grounds and maturity, as in more it is just going fast paced stuff happening back to back. Like at one point, Buzz ends up getting replaced with a other prototype Buzz who just acts like how he was in the first movie. That was just a random element they threw in. I feel like I don't know it. It's funny, but at the same time, we didn't need it. It just adds more randomness to the plot. Just kind of my one issue. I don't know. Just the plot runs really fast at times. I'm sure that's debatable, but and in my opinion, it doesn't ruin the movie. It's just a little issue that kind of prevents me from really calling it anything as great as what my favorite Toy Story movies are. It's still a really amazing film. It's a great sequel. I can't understand why people say it's their favorite. Me personally, though, I don't know. It's just got a few issues with with the fast paced stuff going on, and how much children entertainment it is for a lot of us. Again, I'm probably gonna still get hate for what I'm saying, but it's not me criticizing the movie to a dissent. It's just small issues that I like to point out for my taste. Finding Nemo. This is a fun movie. It has the most beautiful ocean shots I've ever seen in cinema. We follow the story, of course, of a father who lost his wife as well as a whole bunch of kids. Literally, they show that in the opening. Not okay, they don't show it, like we don't see the gruesomeness, but we are acknowledged, told that his wife and a bunch of his kids were just killed. So now he has to protect his one remaining child, Nemo. Sorry, my nose is stuffed. Anyway, Nemo gets lost, gets not lost, taken, and is sent to a aquarium somewhere in Australia. And so now Marlin has to go save Nemo, going on this long journey where he meets Dory. They travel, meet different characters who all help them on their journey, or all give them more confidence and whatnot. While Nemo has to suffer in the little fish tank he's trapped in, along with some other fish, very silly, crazy fish, like a Willem Dafoe fish who wants to try to make Nemo brave enough to have them all escape it, or whatever. I think what really describes this movie best for me, non-stop likable characters. Okay, word it like that. Let me just word it again. Non-stop likable characters. I think other than the human characters, every fish and bird even in this movie was likable in a way. You have Dory, for example. She has a memory loss issue, but also, of course, is a little slow in a way, and that could come off as annoying. But she is not only really funny, but honestly just so likable to the sense. Like the way she acts during this quest, the way she how she feels about things, she actually really tries hard to succeed. And it's like you cannot hate her in any way. Even characters like the sharks, you think they would be villains in the movie. Like, just look at this poster; it looks like he's a villain. No, he's actually a nice guy who's just trying to control his appetite, trying to make friends with fish, only to realize that that his smell for blood is becoming way too much for him to control. So when he does try to eat them, it's just from the fact of losing control over his appetite. He actually really feels bad for it. He's trying hard to overcome that situation. So yeah, you can't hate him for that. You got the turtles, they're hippie like and they're tons of fun. They help during the mission. All these fish characters Nemo's with, they're all funny and serve a purpose to the plot. Just about every fish character they meet has a great likability. And even if they don't, they're there for a purpose, and they do serve their purpose rightfully. When it's danger, they serve as danger. When it's just an inconvenience, it's an inconvenience. But it's still a very light-hearted, nice, fun, smooth, comfort adventure movie. It's a nice, comfortable film to watch. Got some emotional moments, but it's also got a lot of great humor to it.
So, this is just one of those movies I can just sit down and relax to fairly easily. Now, Wall-E is what is considered, according to IMDb, as the greatest Pixar movie. While subjectively speaking, I can't say that because it's at number 5. I can understand why it's at that high rate. This movie has the most realistic looking animation I've ever seen, to be honest. I mean, I probably do say that about a lot of Pixar movies, but for the time this was released, I was stunned. I actually am not scared to admit, when I was a child, I actually was sort of under the impression at first that this was a real world. I was actually thinking that these were CGI robots in a real environment. I was thinking that at first. It wasn't until I continued to watch the movie and we, of course, saw the human characters, then I realized, okay, never mind, this is just a Pixar anime movie. But no, at first it really did look like this was a real world. They even established some of that, showing real humans on TV for while we were watching for some reason. That was kind of a weird touch, kind of a new issue I had the movie. But still, that's how amazing animation is. As for the story itself, pretty awesome. It's about a robot, a trash robot that collects trash on Earth, a planet that every human abandoned and left to rot, as Wally has been left to clean up all the trash for it, and just kind of lives in a world of loneliness and fear for being a robot. Then along comes Evie, a robot that comes from the planet that the humans are on, to, I guess, I don't know, scan the Earth in ways. And there's where a romance begins. Wally falls in love with this robot. Sorry about that noise. And they both share a weird random bond you wouldn't expect from robots, but this movie gives it to us. They both share a nice love for each other, become really acquainted. Then Wally ends up getting trapped into the new planet that all the humans are on and sees that humans have downgraded horribly. It's close to home, doesn't it? Every human is a big fat guy who rides on chairs, doesn't actually walk or stand up, and they sometimes even eat. They drink their food. There's food drinks. That is the most disgusting crap I've ever heard of. God, just thinking about it. Anyway, this movie kind of just talks about the dystopian future that this little trash robot is there to try and fix. Now, what I love about this movie isn't the social commentary. That is a big factor that I do think makes this movie one of the best grounded Pixar films, and a good reason to why it's usually often not cited as the best of the bunch. But it's also just the way everything's handled. All these fat characters we get, sorry to call them fat, but some of them serve a purpose. Like the captain apparently braves himself to actually realize that they've abandoned Earth in the stupidest way they can and need to try and fix things and get all together to fix their society like they should. Like all the humans have their moment to stand up and strive and learn that, yeah, they've gone really horrible. And Wally is there to make sure that he and Evie can stay alive, but also all the humans can acquaint with Earth like he has. It's just a nice, beautiful story about finding connection, learning about what others are like, getting to compare yourself to different types of beings of future or past. I'm just explaining a lot of random crap, but honestly, this movie analyzes it perfectly. I think it explains everything way better than I am. I just gotta say, it's great and fantastically stunning animation, amazing emotional moments between robots. I got emotional for these robots. How is that possible? In real life, I can't do that. But in this movie, these robots bring so much life to us, even for the fact they don't even speak fluently. They say their names, but that's it. I love it. The vocal tone that they say each line in kind of shows you how they're feeling. Like the ship pitch, how high they say things, or how low they say their names, is sort of how you can tell how they feel. And I think that was a pretty awesome addition for their chemistry. It's a perfect way to show what their emotions are like. So yeah, this movie is it's beautiful. It's pretty much the perfect Pixar movie. While it's still just number 5 in my opinion, I guess, I don't know, maybe the human character did sort of overstate the welcome. Still, it's a joy to watch. Ah, yes, The Incredibles.
Pixar's first mature movie they've made, starring a family of superheroes who are suffering a house arrest deal or whatever, where can't be superheroes. They're just a suburban family with superpowers randomly, who all try to live their human lives with these crazy superpowers that they're not allowed to show off. And when danger strikes, Mr. Incredible has to step out of retirement to become a superhero again. So he tries to stop this evil threat, who happens to be his old biggest fan that has betrayed him. He is now against superheroes of all kinds and is out to destroy them all. He is literally going on a superhero genocide, where he's actually succeeded in murdering a ton of superheroes. So this means Mr. Incredible has to stop him, but he ends up getting captured. So now the rest of the family has to go save them. They all have to fight. They're all of them, even the kids, are at risk. They're all at risk of getting killed. It's crazy stuff there. A whole family at risk of being murdered. They all literally have to try and save the world with their own little weird powers. It's a pretty awesome film. The family chemistry is on point with this movie. It's not too mean-spirited, but it's also not too joyfully wholesome, happy nonsense. It's a basic family you'd expect. But when danger comes, we know that they do love each other, and we get to see them all actually care and protect each other. And I think that they show that amazingly. I mean, my family's not superheroes, but something tells me I wouldn't get the same chemistry that this family gets with these kind of situations. I mean, I'll have to see if the time comes, but still, it's just a really great family to watch. And the way the story plays out, how violent it gets, how seriously crazy it gets, how dark it gets, I think it really sets the stage in that manner. It is just fantastic in that right. The Incredibles really has stood the test of time as being Pixar's most mature film they've made. I mean, maybe to some people that's debatable, but to me, it makes sense. It's got a lot of violence, sort of subtle violence, I guess. It's got a lot of action, great animation, of course. All these superheroes are great. The comedy is, of course, all hits. It's no misses in the comedy. That's great to see. I just think it's a really fun movie to watch. It's exciting in all the right ways. It's basically if an MCU movie was actually a Pixar movie. And this is before the MCU, I know, but with how much I love the MCU, I think that's a good thing to praise for this movie, too. Here is Inside Out. Now, this is a movie I've talked before about, saying that going into it, when I got to go see it in theaters for the first time, wasn't expecting much out of it. I loved Pixar, but at the time being, there wasn't a ton of masterpieces being released at the time. So when I was going in to see this movie, I was just thinking it was just going to be, I don't know, hit or miss. I wasn't expecting much. I felt like, I don't know, it looks fine, I guess. Emotions in your brain, it's kind of cool, but it seems also kind of confusing. What's with all these female protagonists? That's Pixar. I thought Pixar was for men. I don't want females in a Pixar movie. I was 9, okay? Of course I talk like that. I'm sorry if I was sexist, but I was a child. And I had no girlfriends. Still don't have no girlfriends. So, why do you think I was like that? Anyway, went to go see the movie. Came out crying and amazed by how incredible it was. Ironic, I just talked. Anyway, yeah, Inside Out is an amazing film. Animation's, of course, colorful. It's probably the most colorful animated Pixar movie ever. You could just tell that from the poster. And the idea of these being sentient emotions inside a brain seemed like it was going to be very problematic. But instead, with no flaws in it all, I was really invested with how it played out. These characters all were great at serving their purpose. There was lots of great comedy and even a great bit of satire with the concept. I love this movie because it both does a lot to expand and add creativity to its concept, but also satirize it too. There's a lot of moments where they actually satirize their concept in ways. Not to the point where they just acknowledge that it doesn't have to make sense, but to the point where, when you're thinking of something like, wait, so does that mean, they'll just be like, yep, it means that, yeah. And yeah, it does that amazingly. It's hilarious. It's probably one of the funniest Pixar movies I've seen. It's definitely got a great emotional moments. Like, my 9-year-old self would not get emotional over stuff like this. Like, I've watched a couple emotional movies before this when I first saw it, and I just saw those moments like, huh, how charming. But actually sitting through this movie really got me almost tearing up. I actually really was getting emotional towards it. I wasn't expecting to do that with the movie, but I did. And that's great. Great movie, great surprise. It seemed like Pixar was finally back on track. And then they released a good dinosaur later on that same year, so maybe Pixar isn't going to have this same track record yet, but I feel like someday they will. Maybe not yet, but someday. I have always been a huge fan of Toy Story. Yeah, I know. Me putting it this on number two on the list seems too much of my Toy Story fanboy coming out. But you know what? I think it's deserving. In terms of comedy, it still holds up. It is hilarious. It is the funniest Pixar movie ever, of course. In terms of story, it still holds up. I'm barely finding flaws in it. Everything plays out like it should. The concepts are all done amazingly. The Toys to Life situation really does do a lot of great stuff with it. Animation, okay, I guess you could argue some of it's dated. This is, of course, the very first fully computer animated motion picture, but yeah, I guess you could argue yes. Not everything looks up to date, but for the main stuff, it does look pretty amazing. With the focus being on the toys, they are animated pretty well. A lot of the stuff is animated in an incredibly way for the time being. So even if not every single thing is as beautiful as now, for the time being, I think it strives pretty amazingly. I think the story about Woody being replaced by Buzz, where he gets so jealous that he even tries to kill him, maybe not kill him, but he tries to retrieve his shine only for it to backfire, and they both end up abandoned by Andy accidentally, and I end up being taken by the kid next door, who happens to be me, a kid who tortures toys and rips body parts off of them. Yep, I'm Sid, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, it's sort of a children's like story, but still, all the great humor and even the great way of how the characters interact with each other is there for the adults to love and enjoy. Like, looking back at this movie, I thought I was gonna really regret having loved this movie so much as a child, like I usually do with some of my childhood movies. But no, it's just as great as it was as a child. So that's great to know. It's just as hilarious, just as great with its story. These characters are all had their fun time to shine. It's a great, wide, diverse cast of characters. You could say it's formulaic and problematic, but I don't want to say it like that. I don't think I see it that way. I think putting it at number two, still considering it to be a masterpiece of cinema, is fair for my taste. But yes, of course, Toy Story 3 has always been my favorite animated movie ever. Will I change my mind when I watch more independently made animated movies, like lesser budget ones that weren't made by big Hollywood studios like Pixar or Disney? Well, it seems a lot of people want to do that. They want to make sure that their favorite animated movie is something that they love genuinely, not just for how big and bright the animation is. Well, for me, I don't care. Maybe I just haven't seen enough, but Toy Story 3 is the most beautifully animated. I know I said that about a lot of Pixar movies, but it's the most satisfyingly, I guess that's probably the best way to describe it. It's the most satisfyingly animated movie. It's got the greatest cast of characters, the greatest lineup of plot elements, the greatest bit of emotional tone, and just an overall great, exciting story. Everything goes in a great way. There's so many links the movie takes. It goes for lots of dangerous, exciting stuff. It starts off with a nice, simple, I was right, you were wrong situation that actually doesn't come off as mean-spirited at all. And as the film continues on, things get more chaotic, dangerous, crazy, and eventually it all pays off for a nice, clean, beautiful, emotional ending that people will criticize for being replaced with Toy Story 4 and 5. But I don't really think those movies ruin this ending. It does if I have to watch it with people who want to constantly be like that, because I feel like nowadays when people rewatch this movie and get to the ending, they're just like, wow, what a perfect conclusion. It sucks that Disney ruined it. I'm like, bro, can we just enjoy the movie because it's a masterpiece? Stop trying to bring up bad movies with me enjoying this one. But no, no. Toy Story 4 and 5 are still masterpieces in their own right. They're not on this list, obviously, because, yeah, I guess they aren't that great. But still, Toy Story 3, whether it's a conclusion or not, is still my favorite animated movie ever. It's got the most satisfying animation, the greatest lineup of characters, the greatest set pace with the story. A lot of great things come together. It's just all done perfectly. It's the greatest thing I could watch with my family. And I talked a lot about how this movie shaped my childhood, all the ways it got me into more obsessed with Toy Story. So yeah, I don't really think there's more I can say. Until I become more influenced with, I guess, more independently made animated movies, which I guess I'm falling short on right now. Until then, I have no regrets calling Toy Story 3 my all time favorite animated movie.